Hello and welcome to the first module in teaching the first day of school remotely. My name is Rochelle and I'll be the instructor for this topic. In this module, we'll be covering how to create interactive introductions and the concept of virtual icebreakers. So there are lots of exciting opportunities available to us as we begin our transition to online learning. And although it may seem new and maybe even frightening for such a big change, I hope by the end of today's video, you'll at least be comfortable acquainting yourself with your prospective students by engaging these icebreakers that I'm going to present with you later on. And in addition to this video, please have a pen and paper or a notebook handy, as you might want to take some notes of the ideas or examples that capture your attention so you can implement them into your classroom later on. So here's just a brief overview of the main topics that our agenda consists of for this video. First, we're going to explore how to make a virtual introduction, and not just a simple video, but one that actually captivates your students' attention as they learn a little about their teacher. Next, I'm going to introduce the concept of virtual icebreakers. You're going to hear that term a lot. Since we're transitioning to online learning, the traditional icebreakers, they may not be as effective in a virtual setting, meaning they may not be possible to execute or entertain or be entertaining for your students to enjoy while they get to know their peers and also you. And we're going to have some examples of various types of icebreakers for you to get an idea of what icebreaker activities you can create or tailor to best meet the needs of your classroom. Then we're going to wrap it up and summarize these tips provided in the module. So introductions are necessary to allow for the instructor to set the right tone for the semester. Imagine starting the 6th grade at a new middle school and the teacher doesn't introduce himself. Instead they just go directly into teaching the day's lesson. This does not promote that teacher-student relationship that you want. In fact, the lack of or even just a generic introduction might prove to be detrimental for the success of students in your class. A successful introduction will create a comfortable environment which may motivate students to actively engage during the remainder of the class, and it can also help to develop a mutual feeling of respect between you, the teacher, and the student. One might ask, though, how is it possible to set expectations through an introduction now that we're transitioning to online classes? Well, by following these simple do's and don'ts when creating your next virtual introduction. It can be helpful to think of a creative theme for your introduction videos. This can be based on your interests or even just the subject itself. Stating some fun facts about you allows the students to develop a personal relationship with you, the teacher. And remember to know the expectations and boundaries for the class during your introduction. And on the other hand, it's best to avoid long, lengthy biographies since most students possess such short attention spans. And most importantly, try not to be too monotone and smile. Students spend most of their time with their teacher rather than family at home, so it will benefit both you and them if there was a friendly relationship set in the beginning.
Hi, and welcome to your first day of kindergarten. My name is Miss Rochelle, and a fun fact about me is that I am a huge fan of Disney. In fact, I have a whole collection of Disney ears and pins and keys to the castle. Yeah. And actually behind me is an image from the movie Princess and the Frog. If you haven't seen it already, then I think you should really go ask Mom or Dad if you could go watch it. It's a really good movie. And over here over my shoulder are the frog versions of Princess Tiana and Prince Naveen. How fun. And who knows, maybe sometime during the year, Mickey and his friends might pay us a visit to help make our year a magical one. How exciting. You know what? And I look forward to meeting each and every one of you and getting to know you and Here's to a magical year! Woohoo! Hi class, my name is Miss Rochelle and I'll be your teacher for Robotics 101. I hope we're all excited to dive into this world of robotics. I'm not sure if you've seen around us that technology is kind of moving a little faster than we expected. So let's get the ball rolling and let's start to learn a couple new stuff about robots. Who knows, maybe one of us might be the next NASA engineer putting a rover like my friend Vector here on Mars. And hopefully throughout the year we'll maybe be able to pull Vector apart, see what parts he's using, and how we can manipulate those parts to make him do what we want him to do. So let's get right to it. Come along.
So the videos displayed are sample virtual introductions for both the primary, which would be kindergarten through 5th grade, and secondary, which is from middle school onwards to high school. And did you note that there was a change in my tone to match the target audience? For primary, it was more of a soft, inviting tone, and for secondary, it was more fun and informal. Also, don't be afraid to use props or show off your favorite gadget to your students. First impressions set the tone for the entire semester, so ensure your introductions have a positive impact. Alright, so take a moment and pause this video to answer the reflection question displayed here, and keep it in mind as we progress through today's module. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, an icebreaker is a thing that serves to relieve inhibitions or tension between people or even start a conversation. On the first day of school, students might be shy, or they may have even been separated from their friends, so they're not familiar with the peers in this class. Therefore, it's important to implement icebreakers to encourage communication between students. And I know you heard me stating earlier the concept of virtual icebreakers. The main difference between a virtual and an in-person class is physical presence, obviously. This puts a strain on engaging with students and keeping them from falling asleep. There are 3 main types of icebreakers. There is the traditional question and short answer, in which teachers usually assign students to complete on the first day. An example of this type would be an icebreaker in the form of a Google form or a quiz where the student must answer some questions about themselves and their hobbies. Another type of icebreaker would be guessing games, which is used in the classroom, and it can also be used in a virtual environment. And this type may prove to be challenging, which would be the active games. But one execution could be to scramble the students' hobbies and have them form groups based on similar interests. The most common type of icebreaker, though, are the active games. So in a traditional classroom, this would involve students actively moving around the classroom. But in a virtual sense, this could be impossible. So as we progress through this video today, there will be a more in-depth look into the various icebreakers which can be implemented in an online class. Alright, take a moment guys and pause this video, answer the reflection question displayed, and keep it in mind as we progress through today's module. So similar to introductions, icebreakers are important for any class and any grade level. Whether you're using Teams, Zoom, or Skype, it's almost impossible to keep all students on task, especially the little ones who are easily distracted. Icebreakers help to boost the relationship between students. It may even help to improve teacher-student relationships. It creates a welcoming environment, and it also helps to reduce the stress most students may experience on their first day of school. Surprisingly, icebreakers may help prevent the cliquing of students as students are tasked with traveling outside of their comfort zone and getting to know their peers who they may not socialize with naturally. Before conducting your next virtual icebreaker, keep these questions in mind. The type of icebreaker you choose will depend on whether participants know each other and how well, and also the size of the group, the resources you have available to you, and of course the amount of time available to complete the icebreaker activity. So here are two examples of question and short answer icebreakers. On the left, we have the primary level version for kindergarten through 5th, which involves some personal questions on lily pads for the students to answer in class. This activity can be done by going around the class on Zoom or Teams or wherever you're doing your virtual class and having them answer verbally. While on the right side, the secondary level version is shown. This particular example is similar to an interview, hence the title. In order to execute this activity, you can share the questions and have the students submit their answers to you via the learning platform like Teams, whether it's on a piece of paper and they scan it to you or email you their answers. So, as mentioned previously, another type of icebreaker is the guessing game. For the primary level, students can be given an assignment to submit selfies or baby pictures, and then you have the class guess which picture matches which of their peers. So you could probably compile all those pictures in a PowerPoint or a Word document and just show that screen while teaching the class on the first day. In an effort to save time, though, you can note their answers on a paper or collectively as a whole class, they could just try to guess. On the secondary level example displayed, it's a digital name tent. I'm not sure if any of you have heard that term before, but this involves the student writing fun facts about themselves in a creative fashion. And then the teacher, again, you can just compile these name tents in a PowerPoint and have the students guess which name tent was designed by who. So while some may think the active games would be postponed due to the transition to online classes, but with the power of technology, this is not the case. The best example of this type of icebreaker for the primary level would be a show and tell, where they show their most prized possession via the Teams or Skype. And for the secondary level, a new concept that is becoming a bit more popular now are virtual escape rooms. So the theme and design of this activity depends solely on you, the teacher. In this example, it was just a mystery classroom where each student were given a set of clues and they had to find out who is the mysterious supervillain. Alright, so we'll take a moment again and pause this video to answer this reflection question displayed, and keep it in mind as we progress through today's video. So during this module, we discussed the importance of virtual introductions, its advantages, and some tips and tricks on how to create an engaging video. Additionally, we defined what an icebreaker is and also what a virtual icebreaker is, the different types of icebreakers, the importance of an icebreaker, how to best implement one into the classroom, and also a few examples of icebreakers. And some virtual icebreakers don't have to be boring or mentally draining when completed successfully. They actually should help the students enhance their learning. Thank you very much for joining, and I hope you can look back on the notes taken today to improve or even add to your classrooms.